Hello, everyone. This is Reddit 9 to 5, and I'm coming at you with a story from Entitled Parents. So, the first story is called Entitled Parents Did Not Want to Return My Laptop by the Kwan. I just got a tip from my friend who I told this story to post here. I tried to look at others' posts, so I hope I got the terminology right. The entitled mother is my aunt in her 40s. The entitled father is my aunt's husband in his 40s. And their entitled kid is their son, age 16. I have two laptops, one very expensive, let's call it MSI, and the older one, we'll call it HP, which is not a bad machine and is still sold in retail about 800 US dollars. My relatives once called me to see if I could lend them one of my laptops, that their kid needed it for remote schooling. I was not particularly happy about it, but I was kind of pushed into it. Typical family pressure and all, and I agreed, and that they would pick it up at the very same evening. They had it for about 10 months, maybe even a year. I have no idea. I don't remember when I lent it anymore. 2 weeks ago, my wife's laptop broke, and we decided that we will wait for some Xmas discounts in just a month or two. So I called EM, and I will need it back and explain to her the circumstances. Most importantly, that my wife now works from home and need it for work, and that schools are now open anyway. I thought that we could keep it since you didn't ask for it back all this time. I thought you still need it for school. And what gives you the idea to pocket my stuff like this? P.S. I even forgot that they had it for summer break and definitely did not need it then. Because I need a laptop as well, and you already have one. Just share it until you buy a new one. You can transfer me 400 US dollars and it's yours, or give it back to me by the end of the day. It's still my laptop, and it is crucial to my wife's work. $400? I'm not gonna buy from a family member. Where's some family solidarity? You can consider it an Xmas gift for my son. EF in background trying to whisper, Yeah, he can buy 10 laptops on the spot. He don't have kids. I'm sitting in the car right now, and the laptop better be ready when I'm there. I hung up. I arrived and knocked on the door with a bit of anger and rang the doorbell because emotions. EF opened the door. If you're here for the laptop, my son just told me he still needs it for school. Buy one. You have plenty. You should share. You know, if you perhaps asked me beforehand, I would do a good price and agree on some friendly payment calendars, but right now, I am more inclined to call it a theft. It is not a theft, it is in the family. In this moment, I pulled out my phone and went to Microsoft's account website. I stuffed the display in his face and pressed lock. He did not quite understand what I did and just stared at me. A minute later, I hear steps from the stairs and boys screaming, Dad, my laptop says it's locked. Dad, I'm in the middle of a game. Nice schoolwork there, huh? Now, entitled father and entitled mother both stood in the door while the son behind them was smashing enter. It looked like he thought the harder he pressed the key, maybe he would override the lock. See what you did? Are you enjoying yourself doing this, kids? Unlock it now. My son needs it. This stupid laptop does not work anymore. And he slapped the keyboard really hard with his open palm, and the battery popped out from the bottom. Piece of SH, he added, and dropped the laptop on the ground. I think my eyes at this point popped from my head. I want a new one, Dad. Tell that to your greedy cousin. He just storms in and wants his stupid computer back. He picked up the laptop and shoved it into my hands. I just added, Battery and charger too, please. That was also shoved in my hand with a nice good old-fashioned door slam right after. The laptop was in a horrible state, and I do not count the fall damage. I'm talking about the filth. From time to time, I also drop food onto my laptop or game while I'm eating, but I won't let it dry and accumulate into crust so thick that in some places it leveled with the keys. And how could he even see over all those dry droplets? I hope it's just drink on the monitor. I'm telling you, if you don't want something, just lend it. And OP actually provides a couple of pictures of the damage. All this in the past 2 weeks escalated into the whole family circle, basically our entitled parents telling everyone how awful we are. And on to the second story. Kid hurts his hand and negligent parents try to hold us liable by Iritus412. I used to work at a family fun center. Think Dave and Buster's, but no alcohol. We had laser tag, mini roller coaster, mini golf, and lots of games. We also had a mini bowling alley as well, which was the subject of this tale. When you put a credit on our bowling machine, a disclaimer message pops up on the score menu. It has all the safety instructions, which are posted in large signage near the ball return, and warnings about not putting your hands where they don't belong, like the ball return chute. It also has a message at the bottom. If you agree to the rules and understand these safety precautions, press the button to start the game. By pressing that button, you now assume responsibility for your own and your kid's safety. Simple enough, right? I was working the floor, both manager and lead technician, and I noticed a boy's crying when my head was sticking in some arcade cabinet. I came out just as the kid's dad pushes the pager button. I walked over and started asking what happened and turned the pager off. Cast. Me, the dad, the kid, and the company VP at head office. Me to the kid. So what happened, buddy? The kid showed his hand. It was slightly pink, but it didn't look seriously injured. He was still crying, so I moved behind the counter and got him a free slush drink, both to hold and soothe his hand and to help him calm down. He was playing at the bowling alley and the ball came racing down and crushed his hand. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry that happened. Could you wait here just a moment? I need to go grab an incident report from the back. The dad. Sure. I went back and got the sheet of paper and pen and walked back out. Before I left the office, though, I told the general manager to pull the footage from our cameras at the bowling alley within the last 20 minutes. Okay, sir, I need some information first. He was amiable as I asked for the general info that we need to file a report with the home office. In fact, it was a pretty normal exchange the whole time up until we finished the report. Can I get a number for your corporate offices? Sure, no problem, sir. Thanks. I appreciate how well you're handling this. These incidences happen, sir. I handed him a business card with our home office number on it. Glad to know who'll pay for my son's hospital bill. Now in caution mode. Excuse me, sir? Well, yeah. Your machine hurt my kid. You're going to pay for his hand if it's broken. Sir, did you notice the safety disclaimer when you started the game? No, never showed me anything. Now, I'm not an idiot, and I was taught that these machines were set up by our company VP, who is a very knowledgeable technician and works harder than any man I've ever seen. When he first installed these lanes, it didn't show the safety screen. However, another store found that setting and relayed it, and since then, every store has been configured this way. This change happened months before the incident. I walked over with him to the machine and the other son was still bowling and the mother was on her phone texting. I used my employee card to swipe a credit on the machine and showed him the disclaimer page. Sir, it says here that to start the game you have to accept the terms and pushing the button to play is agreeing to it. We are only responsible if there's a malfunction in the machine, not if your child is injured by accident. The dad proceeded to go absolutely ballistic and started to scream and shout at me about how he was going to sue us and put us out of business, and that I had no grasp of child safety. I apologized and told him to hold on for a moment, and I will call the company VP right now, and he will direct me on a course of action. I went back into the office to dial from a direct intra-office line, and my manager was laughing at the screens. I looked up and she had been watching the recording. The mom had been texting the entire time. The dad was more focused on the smaller kid, and the kid who got hurt was standing around idle until after he finished his game. He picked up a ball and started to roll it around with his hand. Then he decided it would be a good idea to roll the ball up and down the slope of the ball return. And that's when it happened. Another ball came running down and smacked his hand between the two balls. I smirked a little bit because I'm a terrible person, but the main thing we saw was the terrible parents. The kid started to shake his hand and do a little hop dance, but the mom only glanced up from her phone and didn't seem to care. The dad looked over and went right back to finishing the game with the younger child, but was at least 6 minutes before he even picked the kid up and looked at his hand, and then left to go to our service counter. I called the VP and relayed everything that we just saw on the camera, and he told me to head out to the prize counter and bring the customer over, and that he'd call that phone. I returned and the kid was fine now. His hand was a little bruised, but that was to be expected. The phone rang and I handed the receiver to the angry dad. What the VP said must have really rattled him, because I could see his blood boil. He shouted some obscenities into the phone and threw the handset back at me, which I barely caught. Okay, sir, you need to calm down. I need you to leave the store now. The dad grabbed his kid and got in my face, but before he could yell, one of the mall cops happened to walk in our door. It was one of the out-facing doors to the parking lot, and it was a shorter walk than the Anchor department store. The mall cop barely got a "what's going on here" out before the dad quickly shut up, got his family, and left the store. And on to the third story. Entitled Parents Want Me to Fake My Vaccination Card by Nelly912. First of all, I'm sorry for any grammar or spelling mistakes. English is not my first language. I also don't know if my post suits this subreddit, but I have no idea where to post it instead. I, 18-year-old female, am still living with my parents, who are anti-vaxxers and since the pandemic also COVIDiots. In my country, they are called Kurdunken. My mom is against all COVID restrictions, doesn't believe that COVID is dangerous, and thinks the government only wants to control or kill us. She said repeatedly that we're living in a dictatorship and that the vaccine is going to kill us all. Also, since the pandemic started, she was in various protests and heavily active in the conspiracy groups on, she says Telegram, but I think she means Instagram, Facebook, etc. My father isn't as extreme as her, but he also believes that the vaccine is going to harm us, because there hasn't been enough research yet. In my country, I have to be tested nearly every day in school in order to avoid infections. So does my brother, who is male and 18. My father also has to be tested every day at his workplace, and if anyone is COVID positive, all of us will have to be quarantined for 2 weeks. If you're working, you don't get paid during this time period. This could also be avoided if you're vaccinated. We wouldn't have to get tested regularly, and we wouldn't have to be quarantined if anyone in our class or a family member has COVID. That's the initial situation of my story. The father of my best friend is a doctor and also an anti-vaxxer. He is allowed to vaccinate patients, but he just uses that as an excuse to fake vaccinate him and his family members. My family is really close to his because I've been friends with his daughter since elementary school, and we're living in the same neighborhood. He knows that my parents are also anti-vaxxers and made an offer to my mother approximately 2 months ago. He could also fake vaccinate us, my parents, my brother, and me. Since the vaccine was made, my mother is afraid that I'm going to get vaccinated because I don't believe all this BS about the government and COVID. I think COVID is dangerous and deadly. She knows my opinion and is deeply afraid that I will get killed because of the vaccine as soon as I turn 18. Guess what? 1 week after my birthday, I got vaccinated without them knowing. 2 months ago, she told me about the doctor's offer and I clearly declined. Back then, I was still 17. It's a crime. In bad cases, you can go to jail for up to 5 years, and I don't want to infect innocent people because I'm not really vaccinated. I said all this to her at first, and she tried to make me feel guilty. She wouldn't be afraid anymore that I got fake vaccinated. She has done so much for us, etc. But I still declined. She hasn't brought it up since then. 1 week ago, my parents wanted to talk to me and my brother in private. They shut down the internet and brought our mobiles into a different room. I immediately knew what they wanted from us. Apparently, my mother told my father about this offer because he has enormous pressure at his workplace, getting tested every day, the risk of being positive, and being quarantined for 2 weeks without payment. My father told us about his problems at work and said that it would be disastrous for us, me and my brother, when he would be tested positive, because both of us are going to graduate this year and missing 2 weeks is really bad. I just thought he was going to tell us about the offer and leave the decision up to us. I thought wrong. He and my mother decided that either the whole family is going to get fake vaccinated or nobody. I understand that my father is under enormous pressure, and I wouldn't say anything if he accepts the offer, but he said that I won't do it if anyone decides against it. I understand that my father is under enormous pressure, and I wouldn't say anything if he accepts the offer, but he said he won't do it if any one of us decides against it. The problem is he really wants to do it. I said again that I won't accept the offer, but I won't stop them. Now the fun begins. He started to blame me because now he wouldn't be able to do it. He said that we will do it as a family, but is angry when I am against it. He decided it. He can also decide to just do it with my brother. I didn't agree with his decision in the first place. At this moment, he is shouting at me and trying to guilt trip me. I just wanted to go and said I would think about it. 4 days ago, 3 days after the first conversation, I told my mother that I still won't do it. During the dinner, my father brought up the topic again. I still declined and told them that they can do it without me. He didn't accept my answer. He started shouting again and also insulting me. How dumb I am, how stubborn I am, and that I think I'm so much better than them. Said that he was so disappointed in me because he thought I was smarter than that, etc. That hit me. I think I am not dumb. I'm one of the best in my class, and I'm currently doing the German version of A's in my classes, and I absolutely don't think I am something better than my parents. I just don't agree with them. After that, he started to have some kind of breakdown, I think. He started crying and saying that he was worried he wouldn't be able to provide for us anymore if he gets quarantined because he won't get paid during that period of time. He admitted that he was putting enormous pressure on me, but that he doesn't care. You should know that I quickly feel remorse for the slightest things. Just when I think about hurting the feelings of others, especially family members, and making them feel anxious, bad, etc., my conscience intervenes. Now my father is telling me that I could take away his and my mother's fear if I would just do what they want me to do, but I still refuse to. This caused a major feeling of guilt and remorse in me. Since he started insulting me, I haven't said anything, and his reproach made me feel so bad. I nearly started crying. After that, I got up and went to my room, where I cried. My feelings were so mixed up. I have a strong sense of justice, but I felt so guilty and so betrayed. As soon as I refused to dance to their tune, they start to insult and guilt trip me. Needless to say, I didn't sleep well that night. Since then, my mother hasn't brought the topic up again, but my father won't speak to me. He is ignoring me and giving me the silent treatment. But I have to admit that I don't really care anymore. I don't know what he is going to do. I also don't understand why I have to be part of all this. It's my decision. He can decide different if he wants to. But I know that if I give in, they will use this method every time I say no to something. This is the first time that I do something against the will of my parents, and my behavior in this situation will determine how my parents will treat me in my decisions in the future. Just to clarify, my parents don't know that I'm already vaccinated, but my friend told me that her father, the doctor, would cover for me and wouldn't tell my parents anything. I'm so sorry for this really long text, but I just had to tell someone. I don't want to get my friend in trouble, so I decided not to tell anybody about it since they are planning to do something illegal. Wow, OP. So, I'm really glad you went and made the right decision to get vaccinated. There's been so much misinformation about the COVID vaccines, and I know some people might be a little worried about it just because it's a newer type of vaccine. Like the mRNA vaccination method is, even though it has decades of research behind it, it's still a relatively new method. So I can understand how some people might be skeptical about it and might want to wait it out before they actually get the vaccine. But I really don't understand the line of reasoning where people believe that the vaccine will actually kill them and is especially more dangerous than the actual disease itself. That makes no sense to me, and I don't understand how those people think the way they do. It just isn't a belief that's grounded in reality. I'm glad you at least made the right decision here, and I'm glad that you're not believing any of the BS that your parents are just spouting to you on a daily basis. But I wish you the best of luck, and hopefully your parents can learn to respect your decision, but I wouldn't count on it. And that was Reddit 9 to 5 with Entitled Parents. If you like this content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have a tale of entitled parents, please leave it down in the comments down below, and I may just put it in my next video. See you later.